Hello YouTube, how are you doing guys? It's been a while. I know that this video has been long overdue, but here we are with part 2, which I'm really excited to film. So essentially what we're going to be doing today is creating all those post methods from the front end. We're also going to be seeing the login authentication part of the application and also sign up, because those are very important things that you need to have in your application. So we're going to be doing those things. Also, we're going to be doing protected guards on React, and we'll see how far we get with those things. Once we have those, we're going to start adding more and more complexity. Also, I may want to add a little bit more reducers to the application. That way we have multiple reducers interacting with each other in addition to the authentication ones, right? So essentially having the field creation, the providers or whoever is providing that field, slice or reducer, or the game creation, so that will be another reducer. So we're gonna have like at least 3 reducers, and also in addition to that we're gonna have the authentication reducer. We have a lot to cover in this video, but hopefully, if we don't cover everything, at least you guys will have the building blocks, which will be the authentication and all the CRUD for what we already have on the backend. So let's hop on to the video. Okay guys, so this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be creating the form in order to create the game from the front end, because we already tested this using Postman, but now we want to do this on the front end. We also want probably the same form, but instead of creating a game, we're going to be updating the game. And we also want the details of the game. So for example, whenever you click on a game, you want to see a single game with its details, and probably you want to be able to edit this from that point, or create like a manage games if you're type of admin. But obviously we want to handle that farther down the road, because right now we're not still dealing with authentication privileges and whatnot. So we're gonna go step by step. After that, we're gonna start creating the user schema, login, sign up, and then protected routes, so authenticated routes. That way, obviously, just for the logged in, we can also throw in admin if we have time, but I have a feeling that it may take a little bit longer. So I don't know if I'll have to. I don't know if I'll have time to do the admin part. And then we want to create a rating entity or a schema that is going to be linked to a player. That way you guys will know how to link schemas, like how is one relation joined to another. For example, a player can have multiple ratings. So a player will have a rating per game, and you can get the an average of the rating. So for example, and we can later come up with the rating schema, but like number of attendances. So if he has not missed and showing up to the games, he will have 100% of attendance. Attitude, level, number of goals per game. I don't know. We can come up with the rating. This can, definitely be something fun that we can think about. And, this can be applied to other sports. It doesn't have to be soccer. But, it's just something to add that, spice to the application, so it's not so dull. Even though it's a tutorial, I want to make this application as fun as it can be, yet not too complex. So that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and start with the CRUD from the front end. So I'm going to... So this is where we were at. And by the way, I changed these, I believe, when I did the tutorial. This didn't look as good. They were not like properly spaced out, so probably this looks a little bit better. That's one thing. The other thing is that recently I've been working with a sidebar rather than a top bar, but I'll stick with the top bar. That way we don't take too long. If there's time in this tutorial, which I really doubt, we can switch to a sidebar. But let's go with the top bar rather than a sidebar for now. So let's go ahead and change this because we're gonna start implementing our routing. So let's get rid of the to do. The schemas, they're good so far, and we're gonna go into our sidebar or navbar. Okay, navbar, there you go. So we're gonna call this food tube. I don't know, very original, of course. We want to also create different links. And I'm probably going to clean up a lot from the navbar because I want to keep this as clean as possible. So for example, products, price, and blog, we really don't need that. This I may leave the avatar because I do like the avatar. We can use this for like profile or whatever. See, like I like this. I think this is nice. So we'll leave that. But where it says products, prices, and blogs, we'll get rid of some of that stuff. And you'll see how we can use React and map, and that way we can map different routes. So let's go ahead and try to do that. So let's see where we have our links. I'm actually gonna go, okay, products. So let's go ahead, products, okay, so I already have that actually. I already have this mapped out. I don't know why I have products, that doesn't look good. I'm gonna have definitely home. I'm gonna have games. And I think I'm gonna get rid of blog. Definitely I wanna add later. Okay, I have profile, I have logout. Definitely I want to throw in login. So, here we can log in or log out. This, I believe they don't look good enough. I'm going to make this font a big, bigger so it's easier to read. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's see, where do we have this? Pages. Alright, so there's, okay, line 79 and then line 95. And just to give you guys a reminder, we have two of these mappings because one is for when the top bar is fully displayed, as we have here on a desktop, or whenever we have a mobile, we have this. So we have like with a hamburger menu and whatnot. So this is food tube. So let's go ahead, and the typography, I'm gonna put font weight. I'm gonna get a font weight of 600. That way it's very legible. Now here we have a button, so it'll be a little bit harder. Let's see if the button has font weight on Material UI, which it doesn't. That's fine. We can add it into the styling. Okay, so font weight, and I'm gonna put 600. Okay, so this is a little bit more legible. And again, whenever I go like this, we have this too. So in my opinion, it's a little bit more legible. Okay, so now we have that. The next thing that we want to do is create the full CRUD of the game, right? We want to be able to create it, update it, delete it definitely, and get only one game by its ID, right? So get the details of all these games. Probably the no name we want to delete it. Well, we'll see. But anyway, so what we're gonna do is the following. We're gonna go to the game slice just to make sure that we have those functionalities. So we have the creation of the game, so that's fine. We have the get game, we want to get game by ID. So I'm gonna go ahead and create that method right here on our reducer or slice. So export const get game by ID, which we're also going to be using the async thunk method from Redux toolkit. Now here we're going to be passing, I always create game. We're going to be passing the ID. Actually, sorry, we're going to be passing an ID of type string, and we're going to be getting in return a game. So that's how we're going to be writing this. And the method, so whenever you see this, you know, this is going to be in the Redux dev toolkit. So that's how you're going to be able to keep track of it. So this is going to be game/get game by ID, right? And just so you guys can see this very clearly, if I go to my Redux toolkit, I want to make this bigger. Actually, I think, yeah. Redux. There you go. Okay, the zoom doesn't work. There you go. Okay. So you see here how we have games/get games fulfilled. This is right here, games/get games, and then depending on the case, we have fulfilled, pending, or rejected. So, you know, that's how you can keep track of it. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but, you know, always good to reiterate. So now that we have that, we're going to continue setting up the method where we're going to get the ID as of type string. And we're going to be using thunk API to, you know, either dispatch the rejection, or if we want to call any other methods, which in this particular case, we may only use it for the rejection in case that we have a non-successful request. So const response, we're gonna be doing this await axios.post http/localhost 8080 API games, and I believe it's game/ID, which we're gonna need backticks for this. Okay. And then we can do a return response.data. Otherwise, we do a return thunk API.reject value, and whatever error we get, we return the error. Now, let me just check my game controller, which, okay, we don't have the get games by ID, but this is actually really simple, especially using Mongoose. Which, by the way, before I didn't mention, but Mongoose, it's OMR. OMR stands for, or ORM, Object Relational, so Object Relational Mapping. So that's what ORM stands for. So you probably heard about Sequelize, that's an ORM. You probably heard about maybe Prisma, I think, I don't remember. And Mongoose is also an ORM, specifically for Mongoose and not, you know, SQL databases. And what Mongoose does is that it does a lot of heavy lifting for you, which we want, because we really don't gain anything by doing raw queries in Mongo. The way that we would do raw queries would be using Mongo client, which I don't particularly like because it's subject to a lot of, you know, you don't really have a schema. You can actually write whatever you want, which in some cases that's what you want for NoSQL databases. But if you can set some sort of models or schemas, I believe it's better. So just wanted to mention that. I do like Mongoose. So use it if you can. So I'm going to do export const get game by ID equals async request response. And then we're going to be getting the game by ID. So const or single game equals await game dot find by ID. Now here we need to get the ID somehow. We can either get it through the body if we're sending data through JSON, or we can get it through the URL where we're making the request. So in this case, we are going to be getting it through the URL. So request.params, we can do destruction here. That's how we can get the ID, which is the same as, ID, same thing. It's just another way of doing it. So here what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to request it like so. And then we do try catch. And then so if there was no error getting the single game, I can do return res.status 200.json single game, or return res.status 500, meaning there was a server error. There you go. And I do want to test this in Postman, so let's go ahead and try this in Postman before we implement it on the front end and whatnot. So hopefully you guys can see enough there. Where did I leave this? YouTube API? No, that's not it. I know it's YouTube soccer. Let's see if I find it. Okay, it doesn't matter. I can create a request right here, right now. So I'm gonna do HTTP. The server is 8080/API/games/game and the ID, which I need to get. So actually first I'm gonna do this to see if I can get all the games, which if I have the correct port. Okay, there you go. So we have there our games, which by the way, obviously don't forget to start your server for this. Hopefully you guys have everything running. But okay, so I have this ID. Okay, before I try the game/ID, obviously we need to write this on a route, otherwise it's not gonna work, which I don't remember that so I don't have it. Okay, so let's put it here, router.get/game/ID, and this is going to be get game by ID, which this is coming from here. Okay, so now that we have that, now we should be able to see this. Okay, cool. So now we have our single game. Okay, so let's see how we can implement this so we can, whenever we click here or whatever, we see the game. So let's go step by step. So now we've covered the backend part just to get the game by ID. Now let's go into the game slice, get game by ID. Okay, that looks good to me. Okay. Yeah, that is covered. Now the one thing that we're missing is adding it here. Builder.addCase get game by ID dot I can add a pending, or fine, I'll add a pending and I'll show you guys how this can be useful. And actually I won't need an action here for the pending. I'll just use state. So what I'm going to do is, meanwhile this is pending, we want to set that this is loading. So state.loading equals to true, and then if it's successful, and get game by ID dot fulfilled, then we'll have a payload, and I can say state dot single game is equal to action dot payload, and also state dot loading it's equals to false because it's not loading anymore. Single game string is not assignable to. Okay, so probably I mixed this. Probably this goes the other way around. I always get confused with this, but you know, this is a quick check. Whoop, string. Okay. So yeah, I always get confused. My bad. So this is what we're receiving, and this is what we're sending. Right? Or this is what we are passing in the as a parameter in the get game by ID. We're passing a string, which in this case is our ID, and we'll receive a game, right? Because we're getting the game by the ID. Okay, so that's that. So now we're gonna go into the home page, which should be featured games page. Games page. Okay. So we have games, grid. Okay. Now I also want to create, not this app, I want to add the route. Alright, so I have that route. Now I also want to create a route for a single game. So this would be /game/ID. Then the element will be the single game page, which probably we haven't created yet, if I recall. Games, okay, we don't have it, so let's create it right now. New file, single game page.tsx. There you go. And I'm going to do the short command rfc. There you go, single page. That should be fine. So now I can import this, right? So just so you guys see, now it's imported. And so this should be available where this will be the wildcard. But now what we want to do is the following. Whenever we go into our home page, so games page, and we click one of these games, we want to go into the games detail. So let's see if I can do this with the link, and let's see if Material UI doesn't complain. Sometimes it does. No, we want this from React Router DOM. Okay, and this too. This is going to be dynamic. This will be /games, or what did I put in the app.tsx? Game/ID. So game, and then here we'll pass the game ID. Game_ID. Okay. And okay, this is complaining again. Link has no corresponding closing tag. Did I mix this? Okay. There you go. And this goes here. Okay. And we'll change the style in here. Also, you guys may see this like very small on my screen. But obviously, I mean, I can zoom in, but you know, some styling will go off. But yeah, probably you'll see it better in your screen. Maybe it should look like that. But when I click no name, you can see now it says single game page. Obviously, there's no margin, there's no nothing. So what we can do is the following. We can add in the single game page the following: a container from Material UI, and we can do, I always like to do the following, which is margin top 20, and then I can also add typography of variant. I actually like the H4 with font weight 600. 600, and then I can put here single game. So that'll do for now. We'll start adding more and more, and we'll add the use effect and all that jazz. Yeah, 20 may be a little bit too much. So we have that there. What do I want to do? Give me 1 second. Whoop. Okay. So there's that. Let's put 10 instead. Okay, that looks better. Cool. Okay. So we have that. So I want to go to home. Okay, the links. I haven't managed to also get those links. Very important. Let's go into the navbar. And where do we have pages? Oh, I was already there. Menu item. Let's see if I can put component. Link component. So this is something that I really like about Material UI. So you're passing a component of type link, where you don't have to wrap this around a link component from the React router. So rather than doing this, right, you can just append it here. But it's really up to you. You know, it's just something nice that Material UI handles for you. But know that you have both options. You don't have to, say that you don't follow the Material UI and you use Bootstrap or whatever. You can do whatever, and that is still not working. Did I add it to the? It should be working. Menu, box, button, or maybe no, that should be working. Okay, let me try this. Pages, button, component, then component link. Because I know that these are like, I don't know if you see them or not, but they're buttons behind the scene, which they're also not working. Which I'm not putting the 2. Duh, that's very important. Okay. So what I'm going to do is put 2. Page.title. No, page is just page. And that's giving me an error. You know what? I'm just gonna do it without the link thing, because I know the other way will work for sure. So I'll wrap it with the link element from React router. I'll put that there. I'll create the 2. So this will take me to whatever page I'm mapping through. And okay. Then we're gonna do the same with the button. So link, and we'll style things accordingly. All right, so let's put that there. Same thing here to page. And yeah. What? Slash home. Oh, that is very important. So what I'm going to do is actually create an array of objects, because if I have it like that, home is not actually the page. There's a page, but I want the title too, and the title is not that. The title is home. So we're going to do the following. We're just going to create title, And then this is going to be the page or route. Route's probably a little bit more accurate. So same thing, title, and then route will be /games. Oh, I'm forgetting to close that. Okay. Then title blog, and then the route will be blog, which I don't know why I have blog there, but I'll delete this as needed. But for now, to like show something. So now this is gonna give me an error. That's fine. We can easily change this. So the link will be to link.route. The key will be page.title, because the title should be, actually the routes should be unique. So I'll make that page.route. Also titles, either or, honestly. And then, we want to display the title in the typography. So that's fixed. Now, same thing goes here. We're gonna link to the page.route. The key could be either the page.route or the page.title. And same for the button title, page.title. There you go. So, okay. So now we have home, perfect. We see the home title, but we're taken to the /route, right? Now if I do games, I mean, we don't have anything there, but that's fine. If we click here, we have a single game, All right, so we have that working now. I'm just gonna get rid of this quickly. I don't recall if I could style this. Let me see, style, text decoration, or list style none. Nope. Is there a CSS? App CSS dot a list style none. Okay, so how about to the alias? Actually, I want this without. Okay. Or text decoration none. I always forget. There you go. So now we don't have underscores. Perfect. And I can get rid of, where's my style? This. The less style that we can put it in line, probably the better, but I don't want to focus too much on CSS, so you guys focus on doing your CSS separately. You can add your CSS at the same level, but I'm probably going to do a lot of inline CSS just to, save myself some time. Okay. No, we set to delete this. Okay. Cool. So we have that. Now we're just displaying this, which is not really what we want. We want to display, obviously, the game that we're trying to look at. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is actually really easy. There you go. Let's close everything. I'm actually going to collapse also everything so it doesn't look cluttered. There you go. Okay, so we're gonna go to our single game page, and I'm gonna make use of the use effect, which I know a lot of people complain, but I'm very comfortable with the use effect. So what we're going to do now is also we're going to be using the dispatch. So const dispatch equals use app dispatch, and const we're going to get the single game from our reducer or our slice, so use app selector. And for this we need the state, specifically the Jesus Christ, there you go, state.games. All right, and now upon initiation we want to dispatch, or we want to let know our store or our reducer that we want to get the single game. So we want to get the get game by ID. Now, right now, there's nothing here that we can use to, retrieve that ID. So what we're going to do is the following. We're going to say I think this was, I need to see this hook because it's like a match params, or I always forget. Use params. Okay, so that's a hook that comes with React. So const ID, we're gonna be destructuring this, and we're gonna get this info from the use params hook, which comes from the React router DOM. So that's where the hook comes from. And now I can go ahead and pass the ID, which, what is this saying? String undefined. So what this is saying is that this can possibly be undefined. So there's a couple of things that you can do. You can do either say if not ID, meaning if it's undefined or whatever, you return. And that's how you get rid of that that squiggly error. Otherwise, you can also go ahead and put in the slice where is this? Here. String, you can do string slash any, and you can also get rid of that error. Probably it's better that you deal with the undefined ID like so. You can put like I don't know, alert null ID. I don't know, something of the sort, and then obviously exit. But honestly, this almost will never happen unless the hooks for some reason doesn't work, which it always works. But yeah, so that's one way of dealing with it. Okay, so we have that. Now that we have that, we can make use of our single game object. That, remember that this is going to be stored in the game slice, right? So this is the get game by ID. This is the method that we use. We're adding this case, get game by ID, the fulfilled one. We're gonna get an object or data, which here is just called action.payload, and we're going to assign the state.singleGame to this object, which, just to reiterate, is exactly this. This is going to be stored right here. Now, where is this? This, remember that we have the store where we're passing our reducer, right? Remember that this whole thing is our reducer or slice. I just like to call it reducer, but same thing, right? So this could be the game slice, whatever. It's literally coming from this file. And we're putting it here. We're putting it in our store. And in order to retrieve these, right, we use this hook that we created. That is very nice, right? Well, actually not really. We use this to let the store that we want to get it with the get game by ID method. But we retrieve that piece of object through the use app selector. Specifically stating that we need, or specifically saying that we want the state.games, where this is exactly this right here. So hopefully you're hopefully you're following little by little, and you're understanding a bit more. So now with that, I can just do single game dot I guess field, not field number, address. There should be like a title or something, I don't know. Address, I guess, address and date, I don't know, date time, single game dot date. There you go. That way we have something to go by. Now what is this complaining? Probably that we have two things. Okay, so I'm gonna do string interpolation, that way we can put both. Alright, so that's there. I'm gonna use there you go. Now that should not complain. There you go. So now I'm gonna go into my website and damn, okay, undefined. Alright, so here's my ID. Okay, so we have something there. Now, the only thing that may be triggering this is that this takes a few milliseconds to get. So if I put that there, nope. Okay, let's check this. Okay, the nav bar, that's something that we can deal with later. A non-serializable value was detected in action. Type games get rejected payload error. Okay, I want to see the network. The network is the one that I care for. Games, game. Okay, so I am making the request to the expected route. So the response is API game/game/ID. Am I doing a post? Oof. That's a very... Damn. Wow. What a mistake of mine. Hopefully you guys noticed this and changed it right away. If not, don't worry, because there's no such route for posting here. So yeah, but hey, there you go. Now that I changed that from post to get, now here we have our game. Now obviously we don't really want to display this as so there's a couple of things that we can do. Actually, let me put this here, that way it's a little bit, there you go. I'm trying to see if I can do to isostring. Okay, no. Otherwise, I can do like new date, blah blah blah, all that thing. Okay, yeah, no. New date. I think it's the same. Yeah. Okay. No. So let's not do that. I think it's already in isostring format. There's one more thing that we can do. It's not really something that I want to do, because I know it can be a little bit inaccurate. Okay, so I also have to do new date. New date. Why is this giving me an error? Single game. Okay. So let's do this. New date to local date string. Alright, so that is working. So now I want to do new date single game dot date. And find okay, there you go. So for 24th of 2022, and probably I don't want to put this, probably that looks a bit better. Now you will notice that, so for example, this is what I particularly don't like. You see 25th here, and you see how it says 24th. That's what I don't like. So there's a couple of things that we can do in order to avoid that. Something that's very precise is to isostring, which, by the way, this is already in isostring format. What's isostring? This is isostring, where you have the T for time and this CR milliseconds, or I don't know. But so we want to get rid of this part. So what can we do? We can either slice our string, we can split our string, splice. There's so many things that we can do. Now, normally this is going to have the same pattern. So what we can do is probably a substring or a slice. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So from 0 all the way to 10. So let's do dot so date dot substring 0 to 10. Unless that's, it should be a string. Yeah, there you go. Oh. Now what is it saying? Substring does not exist on type dip. Ah, that's annoying. Okay, to string. There you go. So that's a little bit more pleasant to see. And you can even go as far to say dot replace all, and then you want to replace all of that by that. And there you go. And there's a bunch of things that you can do. Anyway, I'm focusing too much on the date, which is not really important, but just so you know, there's that. We can create grid components, and this is going to be of type container. Actually, do I want of type container? I don't know. Typography variant. Let's see if Emmet picks this up. It used to, but I don't know. Emmet is not perfect. Okay, no. Variant h6. Then I'm gonna put single game dot. I don't know. Oh, I do have name. So then I'll put here address. Is that name of the field? Yeah, probably I actually want the address instead. Because the address will be, even though it will be the same, I don't know, I think it's more useful to see it by address. And then the name, you know, we have that there. So we have that. We may want to do kind of like a grid layout, similar to Bootstrap. So there's going to be an item, and so we want to say that this extra small will be of size. So just as Bootstrap is divided in 12s. So if I do 4 out of 12, that's a third. And this extra small. So let's create 2 more. 1, 2. So I have name, I have number of people. Now let's do one more. Date, field number, name, number of people, time. Oh wow, I didn't have time. I mean, I didn't have time before. That is strange. Why is that like just 12? Number of people. What did I put on my backend? Game model. Time. Yeah. Okay, so I do have time as a string. I actually may want to put time in within the title. Single game. And then I want to do, you know, if there's such thing. So if single game dot time, because some I've seen, for example, this one doesn't have a time, I believe. Then we do single game dot time. Else, no. Else we don't display anything. And we can put a question mark here, even though we can use exclamation mark. Okay. Actually, otherwise, just we'll leave it empty. And we can actually return a string. That way it doesn't look ugly. We can return like, I don't know, 12 hours, whatever. There you go. So if there's no time, nothing appears here. If there's such time, then we do display it. Then we can say, for example, number of not number of players. Not there. We're gonna do number of players. Was it 12? Okay. So there's that. So we have that. So now we go back to home, soccer cage, which doesn't have time. Doesn't have time. Could have sworn I created one with time. That's strange, but let's see if I can create one. Oh, actually, let's go ahead and create the page to create the game. That way we can just through the front end. Okay, so let's go to app.tsx. We're gonna create a route path equals create game element create game page. All right, which doesn't exist yet, but this is gonna be inside of the games folder. So we're gonna create the new file there called create game page.tsx, and we're gonna do RFC. This will have a container from material UI, and we can add the typography. The typography, let's add that there. Variant h4, add or create game. Do I have interfaces? I should have some sort of game interface, right? Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna use this as a guide. So I'm just gonna leave them side by side. How do I want to handle this? Okay, so I have that. I also want a couple of text fields. Text field. I don't know why I put fields. There you go. Okay, import and update there. Okay, this is gonna have a label, and the first one is going to be name. Now we're gonna have address, number of people, date, time, and field number. So name, address, number of people, date, time, field number. Okay, so we have that. Let's see how that looks. Actually, we have an error. Well, not an error, but we need to add the page here. Okay, so there you go. That's imported there. So now I'm just gonna close that. Let's go there. Let's go to also the nav bar. We want to probably get rid of the block. That's not doing anything. So add game, create game. There you go. So we'll go here. It definitely doesn't look good. Let's work in this. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna close everything again just to clear the clutter, except for this one. Let's use the formatter. Okay, cool. Container. Let's use the margin top. What did we say? 10, I believe. Container or top margin. Could have sworn it was margin top. Well, I know it has something container. Oh, okay. So with style, margin top 10. There you go. So I'm not even gonna look at it. I know it will work. Here, font weight. For sure, we want 600. What else? So now we're gonna do the following. So I'm gonna create a grid. This kind of like the div in Bootstrap, where this type of grid is gonna be of type container. Container. And then we're gonna have our, why is this not going up? Jesus, there you go. Okay, then we're gonna have our grid of type item. So grid of type item, and this is where we're going to be given the item, you know, some sort of width. So I'm gonna give this, I want this to be of full length even when it's extra small. So the length is gonna be 12. And SX, remember, is for silent, XS is for extra small. So even when the screen is extra small, I want this to be displayed full length. So we're gonna do the same for each of these. I'm gonna create grid. I don't know, I think I'm better off doing this. Two, three. So that's number of address, number of people, date, time. Okay. We have address, number of people, date, time, and then field number. Field number, and then we can get rid of this. Okay, now, number one, this is not centered. Number two, these are all like clunked up together. And there's no spacing. So let's start with that. Let's go step by step. We want to add here some sort of spacing. Normally I add 3 of spacing or 2. So that looks a little bit better. Also, we're missing a button, of course. So in here I can do grid item and then use a button variant contain, I guess. We can change the color later and disable elevation or elevation disable, well, whatever. We'll, or actually, let's see if now it picks it up now that I import it from Material UI. Elevation, disable elevation. There you go. Okay. So now, I don't know if you can see, this is like very little. These are like also very small. So we're going to be doing the following. First of all, we want to center all of this container. So margin 0 auto. Normally that is enough to center, but just kidding. Okay, so that is not, oh yeah, of course we're getting rid of the margin here. What do I want to do? I probably will leave the container alone. I'll use another grid. I don't necessarily need to give it a type of whether item or container. I can just leave it as it is. Then I'm gonna use some styling, and I'll do margin 0 auto. Okay, flex display flex, and then justify content Center. You know, you can do back end, you can do front end, but not a centering a freaking div. Okay. Hold on. Actually, I'm sure I've done this before. Align. Give me 1 second. I'm looking at my notes. I know there is an easy way to center. Let's start with this actually before I like create a you know, before there's chaos here. So for every single grid that has an item property, actually every single text field, so forget about the grid. So for every single text field, and by the way, I'm doing Command D, which that will select all the common highlighted terms. On Windows, you can do Control D. So then I have now all the text field elements highlighted, and I'm gonna do the following: full width. Okay, so actually I think this is centered. If you see the amount of distance it's between here and here, I think that looks good. So I like the way it looks. And by the way, I have a sum of 120. That's how it would look without zoom. Probably I also want to add to the bottom full width. Why is that not full width? Okay. Why is that not taking the full width? What did I do? Full width. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong there. It's just I like how the button looks when it takes the whole form. Which, by the way, now that we're at it, I also want to add some sort of margin bottom. So style or SX, you know, whichever you prefer, since Material UI allows you to use this. So margin bottom, I'm gonna add like 5, which, by the way, I believe it's 5 times 8, which in this case is 40 pixels. So I believe that's how Material UI likes to handle the, you know, these arbitrary numbers. Alright, so actually I could even do 2.5 or just 2. That's fine. What else? I could also, and I'll try not to take long in here because I know it's not as important, but let's try the following. So the height 50 pixels. No, let's try 30 pixels. Input. Okay, that's not doing anything. 20, 10, 4. Okay, that's definitely not being affected whatsoever. So input field, let's see if adding this class to the text field does anything. Class name, input field. All right, that does make it small. Okay, so what did I say, 40? What about 30? Okay. That's weird though. It seems that like they're not respecting the margins. Let's see what happens if I add the class to all of the input fields. Input field. Okay, no, I'll try one more thing, and if this doesn't work, then I'll let it be. Okay, no. I'm not particularly happy of how big these input fields are, but that's fine. I can live with those. I do want to make the length of the button the same size as the input fields. Maybe I can try this. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so if I give this designation, then it'll extend like that. And by the way, I disabled the elevation, so if you get rid of that attribute, it looks like it's popping out, which I particularly don't love. I like, you know, the bootstrap-y type of look where there's no elevation unless you say so. Okay, so we have that. So we have the name, address, number of people, date, time, and field number. Now, we need to hook this up in order to have the functionality, and we need to, you know, have also the method to post this. So we're going to be doing the following. We're going to create a state, a local state. So const, this will be game, and then set game equals use state. Then the game will have the, you know, all the properties. So again, I'm going to use the game interface just to have it side by side. Obviously the ID, we don't need it, which this will be, the name will be of type string. Address, why did it not stringified? Will be of type string, so that will be a null string, so that will be the initial state. I don't know why I should not put string. I should put like, what state is this going to be in? So an empty string. Address, same thing, empty string. Number of people. Actually, you know what? I could easily do this. Game import, and then once I import, didn't I import use state? Okay. Then, okay. But now it knows the things that I need to set. Date, just of type date, which will be defaulted new date. What else I'm missing? Time, which is of type string. And okay, as you can see, I stepped away for a bit. I had to do some things and I was freezing here. So okay, let's continue where we were at, which is creating the form and creating the functionality in order to create this new game. So we're gonna go back to our create game page. So we were finishing filling up the attributes. So what we were missing was the field number, which I'm gonna set it to default to 0. And we are going to be doing the following. So in every text field, we need two things. We need the value, which this value is going to be coming from the state, right? So from this state, because we're going to be using this state, and it's going to be the game. For each attribute, so it's going to be the game.name, game.address, so on and so forth. So game.name, same here, value, game.address, value, game.number of people. And let's close this here. That way we have more space. Value, game.date. Then we're gonna have also value game.time and value game.field number. And okay, cool. So I'm gonna start doing the following. First of all, I want to separate this. Even though you don't need to, I believe this gives you a better sense of where are things, and it doesn't look so, it's not too jumbled up. It's not as cluttered, I would say. Second thing is put in the text field attributes, because right now this is going to also increase, and by this I mean like the number of attributes, which later you'll see how if I use Prettify. Right now Prettify is kind of like putting everything in one line, but as we add more, then it'll set the text field element like this. So you'll see. So there's that, and then I'll put that there. Same with this one. You know, it's a little bit tedious, but it pays down the road because you have a very good high level of where are things at. And that's always better whenever you want to refactor. It's just easier to keep track of attributes. So that's it. That's what we need for every single text field. Now, we also want to add the following to every single text field. That goes there, and that goes there. Okay. So for every single text field, and again, I'm going to do Command D or Control D for Windows users. And I'm going to do the following. Without eliminating text field, of course. I'm going to add the onChange attribute. What I'm going to do is the following. There's going to be an event. And for every time that I change that value, so every time there's a change of event, I'm going to pass the target.value. Actually, I'm going to do before that. By the way, the value is this one right here, right? So we're passing the game.date value. But before I do that, so I'm going to do Command C. Meanwhile, I'm selecting all of those. I'm going to do set game, right? So I'm using the function that the useState gives me. I'm going to do spread operator for the game. And I'm going to do the following. I'm going to do, well, now I'll do this one by one. So again, I'm using this functionality set state that the useState gives me by default. And in the case of the name, I want to just keep everything within the game the same. But in this case, the name, I want to set it equal to event.target.value. So I'm going to be changing just the name in this particular instance. Now here, I'm going to be changing just the address. In this case, I'm going to be changing just the number of people. What do we say? Number of people. Target.value. Is event to target the value game dot number of people. String is not similar to type number. Interesting. Parse int. There you go. Then we have game date. Okay, this is a tricky one. This we'll handle later because it's a very tricky one. Trying to think what we can do. First of all, type, we can set the type of date. Date time. I forgot. I have it in my notes, so let's deal with the date in a bit. Actually, just so we know that we want to also use the date, we'll leave that as it is. That way we know that we still have this input, but we need to deal with that. Then the time, very easy, that's going to be of type string, so it's going to be time event.target.value. And the field number, very important. And lastly, field number e.target.value. Same thing, we're going to have to parse it into an integer. And there you go. Because it is of type number, and the e.target.value is passed as a string. So we need to do this for the value numbers. And so we have this, and this allows us to change. I remember having this type of error. Let's correct that right now, actually, because I don't want to have this. You know, I should be able to change the number. Okay, so let's do that. I'm gonna go, let's see. I'm looking at my notes, type number, target value. I think if, let's say this one, so type number, and then I'm gonna get rid of the parse int. Field number. Just date. Trying to look at my notes. What exactly I'm doing. Okay, so actually, I'm thinking of not making this specifically of type game, and I may just want to just leave it as, you know, unknown state, and then whenever I submit the token, I just convert the field number into a field type, and then I convert the, you know, also this one to a number type. So that's one thing that we can do. I just want to make sure. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that because otherwise it's gonna be a pain. So let's do that. So instead of type number, I'm just gonna make it an empty string. Okay, and you'll see what I mean by when I submit it. Now date. Also, I remember there was block a period, restart race then. Okay. So the date, I also want to make it of type string, and again, same thing, we'll convert it to a date type. Don't worry about this. So now, why is this giving me an error? Numbers, not assigned. Okay. So now we can get rid of the parse in for now. We won't be needing that. So now we can change this with no problem whatsoever. Now the date, we don't have that hooked up. We'll do that right now. Okay. Oh, because this type number. Okay. Let me see what I can do. Okay. Alright, that's fine. It should only accept numbers, but so far it's decent. It shouldn't accept letters, but we will deal with that later. We can create a function that checks that it only accepts numbers, but for now that's fine. The date is the important one that we need to make sure that we have it working. What else? Number of people, that also has to be a type number. So number of people, that's also type number. Okay, now the date. So I remember nation speech. I know that I have a date type. Just 1 second. Okay, so I remember it was not too hard, so hopefully it won't be too hard right now. So, okay, the date will be of type date. So let's see that on the web application. Okay, so we have that. That's fine. Now we also want to have the label, being displayed properly. So input label props shrink equals to true. That means that because we don't want this to we always want the date label to be here on the border, otherwise it's going to be on top of the month, date, day, year thing. So we want this to look decent, and hence why this will be here as such. That's one thing. The other thing is full width. Where would have full width label type. Okay, so I think we have everything set. The last thing that we need to do is the onChange. So the onChange is going to be very similar. We're going to use this that stands for event. And I forgot to put the equal sign. I don't know why I put parentheses. So set game, where we're going to pass the whole game and leave all the other props as they are, but we are going to change the date, where the date is going to equal a e.target.value type of value. And since this is going to be converted to a string, that's perfectly fine. And there you go, there's our date. It works perfect. It's not anything too fancy, but it works, which is what we care. I don't know, I think that's perfect. Obviously, let's put this at the current year, 2022. And I'm recording this in over. I don't know why it go. I don't know why it went all the way there, but wow. Or you can just change it here, you know. Or just kidding, you cannot, apparently. Which is also fine. Like I think it's fine that the users are forced to use this. Obviously, you see this like weird behaviors where the scrolling bar scrolls way more than what you want. Okay, I'm just gonna refresh. There you go. So normally it's not that crazy. Probably you don't want to like mess with whatever it's in here. But yeah, it works decently. I believe this is wrong. That's something the Material UI has to fix. You see how it says 2023? But then like when you unclick, it goes back to 22. So yeah, that's something that, again, Material UI has to work with. But works good enough. And that's fine by me. So let's work with that. So time, we're going to put it in string. So for example, we're playing at 6 p.m. You know, 9 a.m., whatever. We're not really, we should be constraining this to something. Probably we would want to have military time going from 0, which is 12 a.m. all the way to 23.59 or 23 with 59 minutes. But, you know, we're not going to make this too crazy, right? We'll just have like 3 p.m. and let that be it. Okay. So now we have that. So we have our ad game. It has everything that we care for. Now the last thing that we need to do is submit the game that we want to create. So let's do that. Okay. So for that we need to create the handle submit method, or whichever method you want to name in order to submit the new game. So I'm just gonna call it handle submit. This used to be standard. Not sure if it's standard anymore, but it used to. And this is going to have a parameter of type mouse event, which comes from React. This HTML, I forget if it was like click input, HTML input, or HTML click. I'm doing the following because like the event that is keeping track, because I'm gonna add that to a button. You can add it to a form, so it can be form event, but I normally use a lot of this in the buttons themselves. So I rather, you know, use the mouse event HTML button click, or I forgot the exact. It's not button element. I have my notes here. Let me double check with my notes because I don't want to give you something that's not the correct method. So let's go to dispatch. No. Let's see, token creator page, token form, assurance form, use effect, handle submit. No. Mouse event. So, okay, so it does seem to be HTML element. I'll just go with that then. You could be more specific with the button, but we'll see if React complains right now. It shouldn't though. So what I'm gonna do here is whenever I click this, I'm gonna pass the handle submit, and then we'll see if this complains. There you go, it doesn't. Okay, cool. So that's good. So that's the type of event that we're gonna be passing. The first thing that I want to do is the prevent default method from the event. that means that I don't want to submit whatever I have as, as soon as I change the state, right? We want to be able to fill in the whole data, right? And then whenever we decide to click, then we submit. We don't want to like say type something, go to the next one, and boom, the handle submit fires. We don't want that. And this is what the e.prevent default does. Once we have that, there's also another thing that I want to do before I move on. I want to do set game, where I'm going to just leave everything as it is within the game state, but I want to do parse int I want to do the field number, parse int game dot field number, because I wanna I wanna set this as a number. And I also want to do, which one was another, number of people. Number of people, parse int game dot number of people. Now there's a couple of things that can happen here. As you can see, I'm getting an error already, where it says type number is not assignable to string, but for some reason in field number I'm not getting an error. Oh, because I misspelled it. Okay, so never mind. So then the second thing that I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to say let data. And this is a little bit annoying, but that's in order to circumvent the problem that we have whenever we're doing this type of thing, where we get the NaN. There's probably a better way, but right now I haven't experimented enough to know if there's a better way. So for now, this will do. And I should put game.name, game.address. Then I'm gonna put number of people equals here where I'm going to do parse int the number of people. That way we can change that. And field, well, time gain.time, there should be a comma, field number, and I'm leaving the data at the end because I want to also check on my notes if I'm manipulating the data in any form, which I believe I'm not, but just want to be 100% sure. Game dot field number. Okay, so now the only one left is the date, and that would be parse in game dot date. Okay, so that seems fine. Let's see. Okay. So I don't think I am manipulating, or not manipulating, but I don't think I'm doing anything extra to the date. Just want to check one more time one thing. State, that looks fine. And we'll submit. Issuance race form, okay. And I'll submit, otherwise. Yeah, no, okay, so I'm not manipulating the date in any form other than the way it is, because it's already a string, so that should be fine. I just wanted to double check. Now the last thing that I'm going to do is I want to let my store or my slice or reducer, whatever you want to name it, that I'm going to be creating a new game. So I'm gonna make a call to create game method passing the data. And let's see what this says. Is not assignable to a parameter of type event. Dispatch state. Okay, let's see, create game. Okay, so we have here the create game. We're gonna be passing an object. I'm gonna put any. I don't really like putting any within the method, but I just want to make sure that if it's a type error, then I can go ahead and fix it later. Argument, any game is not assigned to parameter type event. Interesting. So I remember having this error before. So let me open another project where I know I've dealt with this before. Alright, so let me check. Remember HTML button element. HTML button. Does that fix anything? Not really. Okay, then that's annoying. Okay. Dep object. Why is this giving me an error? So I did not realize this, but I want to use dispatch, not dispatch event. And obviously it's defaulting to dispatch event because I haven't imported dispatch. So probably that's the reason why I was getting the error. Use app dispatch. There you go. So probably I don't need to have to do that. Maybe that's so annoying. The type game, okay. So game is what we will get, but we're passing an object. There you go. So that is the way that we should set it up. I don't think we had to change this, but that's how I'm using it in my other project. So, you know, might as well just leave it like that if we know that it works. So the last thing that we need to do is once we submit this, we want to clear all the state and leave it as it was initially. So I'm just going to copy this, which is all the strings empty. Going to leave it like that. And let's go ahead and create a test game. So I'm going to call the name of the game. I believe this is the name of the field. So I'm going to call this Soccer Cage. Soccer Cage Miami, because there's actually a field like that, Soccer Cage downtown. So there you go. Address, so that's the address. Number of people, let's say that we have 6v6, so that's a total of 12. Date, let's say that this is on Wednesday. Time, let's say we play at 7 p.m. EST. Field number, number 2. and then create, everything goes blank. And then here we should see another soccer cage. That should not be up here. Oh, okay, so we have an error. Okay, that's fine. If we have an error, that's fine, but at least we know. Okay. So, game validation. Field number is required. Path, field number is required. So there's probably an error. Field number. I probably have either a typo or I'm not sure what I had, but it's good that whenever you're testing, you open this tab and you see your network. That way you know exactly what's going on. So soccer gauge, 123 northwest, main road. I don't know. Number of people 12. Date. I'm gonna put tomorrow. Time. 7 p.m. EST. Yeah, whatever. Field number 2. And let's say field number, okay, is required. So what are we sending to the backend before I submit again? Field number, that looks fine. Time, that's fine. Date, sorry. See? So I had a typo, actually. Yeah. So I'm going to save that. Now, I'm going to clear this. And actually, this went through. So this is of type, actually, I'm going to try to this is a little bit annoying sometimes that you want to like expand but it doesn't let you. Anyway, maybe if this is of type post. I don't know if you can see, and if you hover here you can see that it's /API/game/game. That's like the route. And then if you select here, you see that, well, that's a type get. But here you see this of type post. You see what are you requesting and what is your response. So here you can see that the ID came back with version, the date format, the number of people. So everything is fine. So now if I go home, then we can see the new soccer cage. And let's see, we got an error there. Let's see what are we getting. 305, 304. Request reload. Nope. Okay, so let's see. Sometimes the terminal has a little bit so I have no errors here on the terminal. Let's go back to the home page and see if soccer cage. Static images. Okay, that should not be an error. Okay, so single game page. Single game is null. That's fine. Single game is null. That's on line 22. So probably I have something game slice. Not there. Single game page, line 22. That is annoying. Okay. So I'm gonna have to do a ternary operation here again. So if we have the single game dot date, then we do all that. Otherwise, we don't display anything. And probably this a little bit cleaner to read. So now there you go. Why was this happening? We had this happening because the date takes time to, you know, do the replace all the substring and whatnot. So if we don't have the data available yet, we cannot display it. So we need to, you know, handle for that case. So here we're saying if the date exists, do the following formatting. Otherwise, display an empty string, which, you know, here's our date. So we do have the data. It's just that we need to account for the asynchronicity of JavaScript in order to handle that. And the time, I also want to display the time because I know I have the time. Let's see, network. Get that field number. So it's interesting that even though I have a time attribute in one of my interfaces, maybe I didn't put it in the back end and now I just left it in the front end. So time, no, that is there. That's interesting, but I don't have it here. Okay, that's why. Time type string. Are we gonna put required? No, because otherwise, well, sure, why not? Let's create another one. Add game. So let's put this tropical soccer. There's a field actually like that, which is in South Miami. I don't know, random 34th Street, number of people. Let's say this is 7v7, so that's 14 in total. Let's say that we play this. No. Tropical soccer, South Miami, 23rd Street, or 23rd Street, whatever. Number of people, 14. Dates, let's say that on Thursday. Time, let's say they play at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. EST. Field number 4. So I'm going to create that. It looked that there was no mistakes here, even with the time saved. So now we go home, tropical soccer, and there you go. We also have the time. Now I know that this is not the prettiest. There's definitely a lot of room for improvement. We can add an image, right? We can add an image link where we can display the images, but I really don't want to focus on this yet. It's been already an hour and 46 minutes. So I just want to finish the CRUD, and I think I'm going to leave the auth for the next video, but at least we have, you know, something working right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna move on a little bit quicker now that we've, you know, traversed through React and the backend. So first things first, let's go to the backend. Game controller. We don't have the editing yet, so we're gonna go ahead and create that right now. Export const update game equals async, and I want to just give myself a couple of lines. Request, response, const game to update equals await game dot find by ID and update. So what am I updating here? So I'm updating whatever I passed through. So request dot body but I also need to pass the ID. So it's been a while. Hold on, let me see my notes on this. Okay, so Because I know that I have to pass an ID. I know that I have to pass the ID by ID. Then I have to pass a body, and then whether it's new, like, so we have to obviously target which game we want to update. So we target that game by passing the ID. Then we need to know what are we going to be updating. So that's whatever we have in the request.body. And then the next thing is whether we want to return the newly updated object, which we do. So that's essentially what we have to do. I just forgot the syntax. So give me a second where I get my notes in that. Okay. So to update. Okay, so I was doing maybe more than necessary here. So essentially we pass the ID, as I said, the body, and then here we pass the new, meaning we want the newly updated object returned, and true. Where the ID, we're gonna get it as before from the request.params, so ID equals request.params, and then we do the same as usual, the try and catch, where we do return res.status, which if there's an update, it's 202 dot JSON, and then game to update. Otherwise, return res dot status 500 dot JSON, and then we just return the error. We can also return, message. Couldn't update the game. That's good enough. And now that we're here, let's also go ahead and do the delete. The delete is one of the easiest ones. So delete game, async request, response. We're gonna do the following: const ID equals request.params, const game to. Actually, we don't even want to do that because we don't care what response we have. We just want to trigger the delete function, which we're going to do by find by ID and delete. And we're just gonna pass the ID. And same thing, try catch. Return res.status 203, which is a successful deletion. And message deleted successfully. Deleted successfully. Otherwise, 500 error, which is a server error. Return res.status 500 JSON message couldn't delete the game. All right, so we have those two new methods. Now we have to go to the game route, and we want to put the newly created method, which is the update. So we're gonna create a put type of HTTP request, where it's also gonna have /game/ wildcard ID with the update game method, and then router dot delete game wildcard ID, and then we're not passing anything because the ID we get it from the URL. So that's on the back end. On the front end, now we have to put this on the slice. Very important. So export const update game equals create async thunk, where we're going to be receiving the newly updated object, and we're going to be passing any object with any data. Now this is the update game method, and same thing, we're going to be creating this method with a synchronicity, also using the Thunk API to either dispatch new methods or other methods that are not here, which we won't do in this case, or to reject the the process, to return a rejection message. So const response equals await axios dot put http localhost 8080/API/game/game, and we pass the data. Now it is important though that we also pass the ID, but we're probably going to be passing the ID within the data, so we can do something like data underscore ID. You'll see how we'll handle this, and by the way, this has to have backticks. And it's not date, it's data. And that's fine. You'll see how this will work once we do return response.data. Return response.data. Okay, that's fine. Now, why is this giving me an error? ID does not exist in type object. Okay, so the thing is that if I put game, but I don't want to update everything, I don't know if it will give me an error, but let's leave it like this and see what happens. And we'll refactor as we go. So Thunk API, reject with value, error. Okay, and then also once we're here, let's go ahead with the delete. Const delete game equals create async thunk, where we're only going to be passing the ID. We're really not getting anything, but let's see. I'm not sure if I should leave like an underscore, but I'll just put game. Actually, we're getting a string, a successful deleted, so I guess we can put string. And then I'm going to pass an ID, which will also be of type string. So now I'm going to do /delete game, then async ID Thunk API, then do the try catch thing. And here I guess we can use a response. Const response equals await axios.delete, and then make a call to that API, where also we have to put the backticks here. So / localhost 8080/API game/ID. So here it will be only the ID. We're not passing data or anything. And then we just return the response.data in case that we want to set a state to whatever the message that we get. Otherwise, return Thunk API dot reject with value, and then I'm just gonna have error like so. Lastly, we need to put the cases. So builder add case, update game dot. Let's do fulfill right now. You guys can do the pending. It's just setting the state loading equal to true, and then whenever you have the fulfill, just set the loading state to false and the action.payload. But I'm sure you guys are comfortable now. So I believe in you guys. I just want to skip that so this doesn't take too long. So state dot single game. We really don't need to update any state because that is going to be mainly on the back end. But I guess we can do that way. If we're on the form, it'll you'll get the latest state. So we can do that. That's fine. And then builder.add case. We can do delete dot fulfilled state. We're not getting any, well, we will get some payload, which is like the string of successfully deleted. So delete game. And we can do state dot, I don't know. We can have later a message here. And we can put there like message, you know, successfully deleted. But honestly, we don't even need this case. As long as this executes, we are fine. We're good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and then we can do two things. We can either reuse this and we can just change the title and also change this. And instead of saying create game, it'll say update, but I don't know if that will be a little bit clumsy in terms of like how organized the component will be. So, because we have this state here, so initially the state is empty, but if we add an edit, yeah, no, I think I'm gonna separate this and create an empty form. There may be ways to make this neater. I'll just make this as simple as possible. So I'll just go ahead and create an edit game page.tsx. And this is very similar to the create game page. It's just that instead of having a creation, we're just going to edit it. So it's the same, it's just that we're getting the state from the single game state. And you'll see how this will work. So I'm gonna leave that like so, and I'm gonna copy everything that I have here. So from the dispatch all the way to the end, and we'll change accordingly, don't worry. Even the return. Okay, so that's good. I'll import the use app dispatch. So I'm just gonna put import all missing things. This one is a tricky one, but it comes from React. Then there you go. Now let's change the title right away. This is update. This should also say update. So right now we don't have that route. Let's go ahead and create that route in the app.tsx. So route path /game. Actually, edit game /id. There you go. Element edit game page. All right, so we have that. Now we need a way to route to that. What we can do is add the button here, because it makes sense that if you're looking at the single game and you're the creator or the admin, you can edit it from here. You don't want to be able to edit it right from the bat, right? So what I'm going to do is on the details or on the single game page, put the button there. So I'm gonna go ahead and create another grid item. This will have its own row, or it'll have a row for itself. Button. I think I may have to wrap this with a link. I don't recall, but let's do that. And this from React router DOM route to what was the route? Edit game /id. So edit game / single game ._id. Okay. And the button will just say edit. So edit variant contained disable elevation. So for example, this edit. Okay. And there you go, update game. Okay, so this is working. Now the last thing that we need to do is fill in these fields, and also you know, whenever we hit update, we want to trigger the update functionality. So that's that. Okay, so we can get rid of those two. We can close them, and then we can just work on this one. So first of all, I don't want to do handle submit. I want to do, or I guess I do want to do handle submit, but my submit won't be this. Will be just update. I need to think how to make this as simple as possible. I may want to leave this as it is. For now, I'm just going to comment this out. I also want to leave this as it is because we do want to, no, actually, no, I want to get rid of this too because we don't want to clear the state. What we want to do is the following. We want to get the single game state, use effect, want to get this upon initiation, which even though we may have already the state, so for example, just so you guys know the logic of this, when I click this, I'm already setting this state to you know, whatever this single game is. And if I go to edit, I should keep the state. The problem is if I do reload, if I don't set this up, then I'm gonna get an error. So this is why it is important to set the use effect here. Okay, so let's continue with the editing. So here we have the form with the update game, and this is empty, and we were trying to fill in that state with our current single game. So what we're going to do is the following, which just to reiterate and make this, that was like that. We already have single game on the state, so we can easily do const single game equals use app selector. So we can get the single game from there. Oh, by the way, sorry. State dot games. Okay. But if I refresh the page, then we're gonna have a null state, which is why every time we refresh or upon initiation, which is the way we have the use effect set up right now, we want to do dispatch and then get game by ID, which also we are going to need the const ID by using the whatever we have in the single game page, the router and the ID. So we want this line exactly. So const destruction use const ID equals to use params. So we're going to be using that hook from rec router done, and then we're going to do the following. If there's no ID, then we return, we exit. Otherwise, we can go ahead and make that get request. And once we have that, then we can also go ahead and you know, set the name to single game dot name, address to single game dot address, single game dot number of people, and then single game dot date, single game dot time, and single game dot field number. And why do we have that error? Argument type number is not some type string. Okay, so this is because we have it as a type number, so I'm gonna change it to string just so we can manipulate it. That should convert it. I'll see if I can get rid of the exclamation marks because they're not ideal when it comes to manipulation, data manipulation, but we'll see what we can do. Same with this. So right now the date, it says type string is not assignable to type date. So there's a couple of things that we can do there. We can either go to our interface, so our game interface, and we can put an optional in the date as either date or string, or we can just force the date to be string. We still got an error there. Date undefined, that's not. Let me see if I have to do also this type of thing. Okay, that doesn't seem to solve it. To string. We'll see. Let's see how it populates. Okay. So time, there's nothing there. And also where it says update game, I probably want to put the title of the game. So I want to do or name and address, or probably name and date is the best, or address and date. Okay, so let's do the following. Game.name. Then we want to do game.address. Game, actually, rather than the name of the field, we really don't care, or we can leave that there. We definitely want the time and we want the date. So game.date, because those things are the things that are gonna let us know, in which field, because this is the name of the field, the address, the time that it's happening at, and which day. Which game.name does not appear. Is this the first one? Yeah, it has no name. Okay, that's why. But if I go here, so we have soccer cage, that's good. We have the address, we have the number of people. This does not have a time, and the date, it is selected. So you see how this is selected on the 25th, but it's not being displayed here as 25th. I'm trying to see if there's a way to circumvent that. And same thing, because it doesn't have the time, it's not displaying the time. But which, by the way, I'm not even going to do the if time exists display, if not don't display it, because all should have the time being displayed. We're gonna make a how do you say, a middleware to make all the fields that are required to, to make sure that we are actually sending those attributes when we create that in the API. But that's gonna be on the next video, because I wanna, make this, not as long as, if it doesn't require to be too long, then I'll I want to keep it like that. This video is almost already past the 2 hours mark, so I want to like finish as soon as possible, and then on part 3 then we'll add authentication, required fields, and all that jazz. So that's that. The only thing left here in edit is the title. Sorry, not the title, the date. The date we said we wanted to do a substring. So I'm gonna do date.substring, and it's from 0 all the way to 10. And what else were we doing? Replace all with the column with a yeah, like so, exactly like so. There you go. So we have that now. Now that we have that, the only thing missing is to see what we can do about the date. So I'm gonna go to home, tropical soccer. So now we have all information here. Everything is being populated. Again, the date. Now see how this is on the 27th, but here it's just displaying the 25th. Okay, so this has no connection to the actual date. So let me see if there's something that we can do there. Value game.date. No. Let's see if there's like a default value. Okay, let's do that. Game.date. So this is one problem. We should be able to get this ID and you know, pre-fill this fields, which means that this is not that is not working. Okay. Use params dispatch. Use app dispatch. Get game by ID. And then we want to do this at the beginning. Response. Okay, so we are getting the game. I believe that because we're not setting this state in the beginning, we're getting that error. So I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna copy this and I'm going to put all of this as an empty string, and then I'm gonna create a method called set state. So set game initial state. And we want to do this upon the change. So by the way, we can use multiple use effects with different dependencies. Whatever we have in this array, it's something that the hook depends on. So in this instance, we depend on the change of state of the single game. So every time that changes, meaning if before it was null and then now it's not null, then that dependency state changed, and then we can make a call to the set game initial state, where we're just you know, making sure we add that, and we do set game like so, and all that goes inside the set game function. Set game, am I missing something? Undefined. So again, we also kind of want to do the same manipulation. I mean, check if single game, or if not single game, return. and then meaning this, if it's null, then return. If null, return. Else, do this. And we're gonna pass this in here. Okay, there you go. So every time I refresh, we set the state. Perfect. Now the last thing that I need to do is display the date, because I want to do that, and obviously send the update, because we want to be able to update this. So we don't have the handle submit. Do we have that? Okay, so we do have the handle submit. So every time we hit the click button, we want to dispatch update game, where I pass the data, argument type, address, string, date. It's not a type game. Okay. So because I don't want to pass the ID, I could. There's a bunch of things that we can do. And I know some people watching could say like, so you have the single game on state, why not change that directly? We can actually change the state of the single game, and then just send the single game, and just separate the ID, because we don't want to send the ID and do that. But let's do this right now, and then as we go, we can make things a little bit more complex. So for now, let's do this. And again, it's not ideal that we have any, but here in update game, we are going to receive a game, but we're going to be sending an object. Let me see. Any. So I guess I have to put any. I'm not a big fan of putting any, but let's leave it for now, because at least we know that the type has to be either an object, or if the linter gets funky, we just put any. Okay, so display the data and the update, which this is almost accounted for. Okay, so let me see, how can I display the date? Label, let's see if I can put on the label the current date, game.date. And we can do the same thing. Substring 0 to 10 dot replace all, where we replace that for that, and this is the current date. And we can even go as far as doing reverse. Okay, maybe that was too much. Reverse does not exist in type string. Is reverse? Let me see if I can do. Maybe this is too much one-line manipulation, but I'm just curious to see if this will work. Split. We'll split by that. Reverse, and then dot join. There you go. Where it's the 27th, the day, the month, and the year. So, I mean, you guys don't have to do this. It's just me being picky and displaying the year all the way at the end. And then like 27 doesn't match this, but whatever. At least we have something to see that that's the current date. Current date. I don't know. That's me being too picky, but whatever. So now let's try this. So tropical soccer updated. So that's, I hit the update. Okay, so probably something on my server went wrong. Okay. Cast object ID failed to value undefined at path for ID for game model. Okay. That means that I'm sending the ID too, which is not right. I shouldn't be sending ID. let's see, where am I sending the ID? But that's like, that's this error right here. So, oh, I'm not sending an ID. Duh. That's what I need. Okay. So the last thing that I need to do is the following. Put here ID or underscore ID, and then just place the ID that we're getting from the params, which is this one right here. Now it should work, so I'm going to refresh. I'm also going to refresh this. It won't be updated because there was an error. So now I'm going to try again, update it. There's no errors. And there you go. We have the updated. Now let's say that I try 12. Update it. And there you go. Perfect. Field number 2. Update it. Perfect. Now let's see the date. That's a tricky one. So currently this is on the 27th. So now I'm going to put this on, let's say, we're not playing the 27th now. Let's say that we play the 28th. Update. And it changes to a 28. So everything is working fine. And the time is just a string, so we can change anything, to be honest, here, 9 p.m. It's working perfectly. So now we go to home. I'm gonna add a name. So this is soccer cage. And then time, this is at 9 p.m. So if I update, now I go to home, soccer cage. So now you can go ahead and update. Now there's one more thing that we need to do, which is deleting. Now I don't want to add the delete here. Probably what I want to do is either add it here or, yeah, I don't know, add it here. Obviously we'll add privileges as we go on, but I'll add it here. And when we click, we want to redirect the user into the home page. So let's do that. So we already have the delete method in place. So here, the only thing that I need to do is the following. I'm gonna copy this grid, put that there. I'm gonna call this delete. For now, this will be like that. Color red. Okay, so maybe that's not the way it works. Okay, so let's do styling. Background color. Let's do red. Okay, there you go. I don't love that red, but I don't know. Okay, probably. Okay, RGB. So we want a lot of red. So we want probably that. We don't want too much green or too much blue. So, okay. So now let's add to 2 or through 3 and then to 2. Let's do for 4. Let's do 8, 8. That's an interesting color. All right, that's not as red. It's whatever. I'm fine with this. So now that we have this, we also want to create a handle delete. So whenever we do a handle delete const, actually I want to put this below the handles a bit. So I want to do the following. Const handle delete equals e mouse event, and then HTML button element, and I want to do, which by the way I think here we don't need e prevent default, but I'll just leave it there. And I don't think I need it here either, but I'll just do dispatch delete game, where I'm gonna pass the ID. Let's see, you cannot find delete game. Okay, so let's go to the game slice. Delete game. Delete game. Do I have to import it? Okay, yes. So we'll make sure that we have the ID. The ID should always be there, so that's fine. Again, same thing, we can do the following. That way we don't need to do this. So if there's not an ID, then return. Otherwise, dispatch that. Once we have done that, then we can do, I forgot the redirect. It's either history push or push state. So I'm gonna get rid of that delete. I just want to try. It's been a while since I've used the redirect. Use history, no. Use routes. Navigate. Use navigate. I think it was navigate. Okay. So I think is navigate, and then I'll just like make this to reroute the user to the home page after the deletion, because you know, if you delete it, there shouldn't be a data that you should be seeing, therefore you should be redirected. So whenever you click this, whenever we click this, we're gonna trigger the handle delete function, which right now, just to remind you, we're not deleting anything, we're just testing the navigate. Perfect, that works. So again, okay. So now we're just going to add the delete. So when we delete this, we shouldn't be seeing anymore the first one. Actually, we have 1, 2, 3 soccer cages. Okay, so we should only be seeing 2. So instead of 7, we should see 6. So now let's change that. Okay. So let's say that we change this to 14. We refresh, perfect. Oh, we don't like it, we delete it. And it was not deleted. Why was that not deleted? We should only see delete. Okay. Let's open the network, edit, delete. Okay, cool. So at least we have a game cannot delete API games. Okay, let's see if there's an error here. Delete localhost API games. I may have a typo. Okay, so on the backend, there's nothing triggered actually. So let's go to delete game here. HTTP Axios delete localhost games game ID. Okay, so that seems fine. So on the game controller, delete game, reset status, await game dot find by ID and delete. That looks fine too. Now let's go to the game route. So, no method, delete game. Okay, there you go. So now we just, okay, so I already restarted. So now it should work. So I'm just gonna refresh everything. I'm gonna go here, edit, delete, and there you go. Now, obviously, what's going on? There's two things. So I'm deleting it on the back end, but on the front end, we still have that state. So there's two things that we can do. We can either call the API and force a reload. So we can go into our game slice and we can do, within the delete game, we can here force thunk api.dispatch.get games, and that will get the new state. Or the other thing that we can do is whenever we delete that, we want to get rid of it on the front end, and we don't even have to call the API, which down the road will be more efficient. So for example, if we delete a game, we can say we're not really deleting it in the front end, we're filtering it. So filter game. So how do we filter the game? We are changing the state and we are passing an action. Okay, so how do we filter? We want to filter games is equal to I'm not sure if I have to pass an ID here. So give me everything that filter game that game dot underscore ID does not equal ID. Okay. Can find name games. Redux slice filter state. Return state users filter user. Action.payload. Okay. So action game. Okay. So return state.games. So give me all the games where the game underscore ID does not equal the ID that I'm going to be passing as a parameter. I guess the action.payload, like whatever the data I'm passing as. Is that right? No. That's a little bit annoying. Okay. So I'm gonna try this. If this doesn't work, then I'm just gonna go ahead and do the I'm gonna do this method, but I'm trying to avoid this, and you know, I'll take 5 more minutes. If this right here doesn't work, then we'll go with this that I know that it works for sure, and then for the next video I'll just refactor this because I don't want to take too long. Okay, so this in the edit, so I'm gonna close everything and just leave the edit open. So rather what I'm going to do, rather than like deleting, I'm just going to filter just to see if it works. And obviously I have to export it here also. Filter game. Let's close that. So now I can do a filter game where I can pass an ID, which is the payload. So I'm gonna pass the ID, and then, so for example, right now I'm not deleting it, but I'm gonna be clearing it temporarily. But once I also uncomment the actual deleting, then it'll work. So for example, we only have one rooftop game. So if I go here and I delete it, okay, that did not filter it. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. Redux game slice. Redux reducers filter by ID. Filter state by ID. Let's go to documentation, define requirements. Design actions, type to do. Writing reducers. This is like old school reducer. I want the Redux toolkit part, not old Redux. Alright, so not that. Redux toolkit. Tool complete, keep original state filtering reducer list. Search state cons filter entity entities. How to get very easier state management with Redux, build and shopping cart, no. Let's see if there's a to do deleted, okay, so state action, okay. Return state filter to do action payload, okay, so that's more or less something that I'm looking for. Immediately and return it. However, it is possible to use immutable updates part of the work. An example of this might be filter and nested arrays. Okay. So essentially, I can do the following. So here I just do return. I just return that. Filter games. Why is that? Filter game. Type variable is not assigned to void game state, writable game state. What a pain. State action dot payload. Constant. Okay, so state games. That's not doing anything though. And then return state games. Do I have to do this? Payload action string. Okay, I'm gonna try. No, I mean that we have the same rooftop. It's not filtered. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this as it is because I'm gonna probably take a few more minutes, and I don't wanna take longer than it's needed. And we have all that we need. So I'm going to uncomment that. I'm going to get rid of that for now. I'm going to put it in a comment. You guys will be able to see this on GitHub if you guys want to go ahead and have a go. I'll refactor this for next video. But so let's say that we have 2 soccer cages now. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to delete it, and we should only see 1. And that's because I also triggered the get games. Again, it's not as efficient because we can just clear it from the front end and we don't have to do that twice, but at least we're ensuring that that works. So we've covered a lot. I know that we only got to the CRUD, but we got to the creation, we got to the editing, and we got to the deleting. Next thing that I need to do is add authentication, which is everything that pertains to authentication plus some middlewares. Check if you're logged in, check the token, sign up, protect guards in React, make sure that whenever you're creating your game that all the fields that you need that are required that are being given. So we're going to do all of that on the next video. So if you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.